candela, candela me quema. Ay, candela, candela, candela me quema. We've got about 2 minutes before we start, so grab a drink. And we will see you shortly in a minute. Grab a beverage and salsa towards your screen. Hey everybody, welcome to Amplify US. You are at the right place at the right time. My name is Regie Cabico. Before we get this show started, I'm going to introduce our fabulous director of Story Tapestries, a master storyteller, theater artist, performer, director for Story Tapestries, and founder of Amplify US as well. Without any further ado, my very, very good friend and colleague, Ariana Ross.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, I really appreciate that, Regie Cabico. Honestly, I am excited today. I am not telling stories. I am not reading poetry. I get to be here and I get to support. I think there is incredible power in the art of supporting and the art of listening. And so today I get to sit back and listen. Story Tapestries, along with many others, worked hard to create the Amplify US initiative. And some of those people, Regie Cabico, Michelle Faulkner-Forson, Carolyn Lowery, Valerie Bauschlossberg, were some of the original people involved, along with Arts on the Block and Strathmore. And without further ado, I'm gonna pass it back to Regie, but I will say this, if you are interested in supporting this initiative, although this event is free, we work really hard to pay our professional artists and our community. And so feel free to make a donation and I'll put that information in the chat box. But I am going to mute myself.
Thank you so much, Ariana Ross. So we have incredible performers that are going to share their work with us in the first half of Amplify US. Before we start, Amplify US is a series that got started about 3 years ago in 2017 when there was a lot of racial hate crimes in the Montgomery County area. And so to facilitate an understanding and the discussion of what was going on, that's where Amplify US has been born. Over the last 3 years, we've been performing all over the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area. So the performers that we have, we've got the fabulous, incredible poetic stylings of Mia S. Willis in the house. We have Ozara O'Day in the house. We have Karina Gorham in the house as well. I will also present, oh, and you're doing it already. So your mics will be on mute so we can use the ASL sign for applause when you see something you like. I like to sometimes snap my fingers. Also use the chat box if you want to express through word. Those are all acceptable forms. The topics of identity, race, what we are going through right now, all of the inequities that we are experiencing, very, very emotional. Poetry and performance is very, very moving. So please take care of yourself at this time. If you need to turn off your screen for a moment, hydrate, take a moment, please take care of yourself. Our goal is that you will be inspired by the end of this program. So is it all right if I kick off with a few poems? All right, I'm multitasking here. I am not a virus. I am the galactic center lit up like a birthday cake. Stop asking me how old I am or my origins. I am a bent nail hidden in a shaggy carpet you stepped on that you forgot about when you colonized my space. I am tightening quicksand, draining your self-perceived wokeness because you listened to Nina Simone, visited the African American Museum, or danced to Michael Jackson's They Don't Care About Us in your kitchen. Fall into my center. I am a cloud, rootless and so above you, navigating my space and your privilege wherever I go. So that was in a response to the anti-Asian violence as a result of COVID-19. I think I'll have two more pieces, maybe 2 or 3 more pieces before I introduce our next performer. This next poem is called This Kind of Fire. The gods did not make me a lapu-lapu leader rebelling against colonial invaders in loincloth and dagger. The gods did not make me the Broadway star of my solo show, Reggie's Cry for Help. The gods are not going to wed me with a gillionaire gigolo with a smoking bod and eyes that smoke the Yuletide log of my girly girl lust. And I accept that. I live a life of a solitary poet, getting children to hyperbolize their superpowers and super selves, arming myself with a Greek mask of tragedy and comedy on the stage, eventually arriving home alone to a labyrinth of books on my black wooden floor. Now the gods plopped me into the hot spot of a pandemic, inciting a fire of poetic epiphany, writing spells of self-deprecating humor and spiraling witticisms of a truth welded in pain so that we may climb a ladder of laughter up a grieving underbelly of despair, only to find us crawling through a wormhole of uncertainty. And these poems are a torched way out of the dark. Maybe the gods are watching my every move, seeing what I do, following me on their own social media, live streaming my every action at this time for their amusement. I do not write for the gods' entertainment. I write to be heard as a child of Filipino immigrants who had go home scraped on their cars. I write for that Broadway play or Netflix special I'd never be cast in. I write for my muse who gifts me metaphors and whacked out lyrics and holds me tight in a flood of night sweats. I write to steady my anxiety of this unknown, where pink elephants are popping like viral balloons in this new pandemonium. I write to get through this unquenchable fire, but now I am simply writing, foot on pedal, stomping, this April chill. Um, I am going to read two more poems for you before I introduce our next performer. This is a new poem that I am working on, and it is inspired by a phenomenal poet, Ashley M. Jones, who wrote the poem Who Will Survive America, or 2017, a horror film. And while there was a horror film in 2017, this is the latest horror film, and I feel American history is a series of horror films. I want to survive the American horror story. When will Black and Brown people survive the horror story? Let me be Sigourney Weaver. Let me blow the gory alien predator into outer space where there's no air. I want to be the one who gets to stab the racist boogeyman with a knitting needle. Let me for once be the white person who gets to be hero. But today I wonder if I should even try and save America when folks are willing to save a Target store than one Black man's cry to breathe, uttering mama as his last words. The complicit action by the Asian police officer disheartens me. You care more for your Apple stores than a human life. So you adopt an American boy does not make you woke. So your high school boyfriend you took to the prom was Black. Watching the TV show Roots or the Central Park Five does not make you woke. Inequities exist in every facet of life. It is a virus that we can fix, not with plastic bullets or tear gas, but with our hearts beating and beating at the same time. And I'm going to close with one last piece, a little bit of a lighter note. It is June, it is Pride Month. I know a lot of queer events have been canceled. I am excited that this weekend I am producing a queer literary pride festival with Reading Queer in Miami. So tomorrow at 2 p.m., if you want to know more, go to readingqueer.org. We will be producing a gender fluid fairy hour for tiny rainbows and their unicorn families. So the performance speaks of gender and opens up experiences. So I'm excited about that. So I will end with this piece. It's called Ode to My Sandals. And this is for my queer feet and all of I turned 50 and, you know, your feet are aching. There's so many aches that are happening right now. So this is Ode to My Sandals. Oh, ache of pavement. Oh, Dr. Scholl's with 3 black straps wrapping metatarsals. Oh, soft sandals that should come with jelly rubber balls. When I walk to the post office, my feet beg to be squeezed as if there were as if they were size 10 Meyer lemons strolling in a summer storm. My arches want the knuckle strength of a tenacious, tender carabao to plow my knotted fields of plantar fascia, and the dry pebbles of my phalanges, those piggies popping the leather, scraping a hole into the hard sole. At night, my sandals scatter like a couple on the verge of divorce. One detests my stompity floppity beat. The other caresses the sore ball, sucking in the blow of tippy-toe balletic releve. These are not the usual sandals. They are peppermint patty sandals. Well, one is peppermint patty. The other is Marcy. They may not be sexual, but they're very, very queer. Thank you all so much. Without any further ado, it gives me great pleasure to introduce a phenomenal artist who participated in our last Amplify US workshop. Ozara Ode is a playwright, theater artist, poet extraordinaire. Their last play, Ozara, in the Key of Nina was produced in New York off Broadway. You want to check that out. You want to also go to azaraode.com. You will also find incredible music. There's a house mix called Reach. I'm going to let Ozara tell you a little bit about that. But can we please have a big, warm Amplify Us welcome for Ozara Ode.
Greetings, greetings all. Right back to you, right back to you. I'm so grateful to be a part of this Amplify Us and for us to be sharing our artistry. Michelle had to, really dig into me because I was like, I don't want to do it virtually. I want to be in front of people and I want to experience the energy live, but I'm finding that I am experiencing energy from everyone that's participating, and so I'm glad to be here. I'm just going to do two pieces right quick. One is called Summertime. It's my rendition of Summertime, and unfortunately, even though I wrote it many years ago, just like the second song I'm going to sing, Mississippi Goddamn, it's still quite relevant today. So here goes. Summer time, and the living ain't easy. Ain't no fish jumping, no. And the cotton I'm picking ain't even mine. Oh, yeah, daddy ain't rich, but your ma, she's good looking. But hush, little baby, no one hears your cry. One black man, sure blood soaked, on his last gurgle breath he choked. As he lay there on the middle of the street, I can still hear his last heartbeat. And as his soul stared up into my eyes, crying out, did I have to die? While around him there was more murder, chaos, self-destruction, doom. There was murder, chaos, self-destruction, doom, 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 doom. While everyone's marching around, Black Lives Matter and all lives matter are standing up in the air, and where do we go? And who will warn the masses? And who will warn the masses? It's summertime, and the living ain't Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This next piece, some of you may be familiar with. I wrote a play called Ozara in the Key of Nina. And I just understood that this woman was underserved in the art community when I wrote this back in 2009. So glad now that you have had movies and more people being aware of what she did for the movement for equality. But here's this piece that she wrote after Dr. King and the 4 little girls in Mississippi were murdered. And so I present to you Mississippi Goddamn. And the name of this tune is Mississippi Goddamn. And I mean every word of it. Alabama's got me so upset. Tennessee made me lose my rest. And everybody knows about Mississippi Goddamn. Can't you see it? Can't you feel it? It's all in the air. I can't stand the pressure much longer. Somebody say a prayer. Alabama's got me so upset. Tennessee made me lose my rest. And everybody knows about Mississippi. Goddamn! And everybody knows about New York. And everybody knows about Minnesota. And everybody knows about Florida. And everybody knows. And everybody knows. And everybody knows about New York City. Everybody knows about Mississippi. Everybody knows about Minnesota. Everybody knows about Florida. And everybody knows. And everybody knows. And everybody knows. And everybody knows. Thank you. Thank you. Again, you can go to ozaraode.com and hear my music, see some of my videos, some of the performances where I portray Nina Simone. I was blessed to meet her daughter, granddaughter, her sister, and at the end of my performance, I was invited to a 10-day celebration they had in Atlanta. And after the performance, the granddaughter greeted me as auntie and thanked me for reminding her of her grandmother, who she hadn't seen in many years. And I was so grateful for that. And my passion is still to share her story because still so many people don't know the sacrifices that she truly made. And so I hand it back over to Regie. Thank you all. Thank you again for inviting me.
Wow, that was Ozara O'Day, everyone. If you just joined us, I am feeling all of the feelings that you will get in an Amplify Us. Thank you so much for that riveting performance. Next up, it gives me great pleasure to introduce one of our youngest performers with a big heart and just a passionate voice. I had the pleasure of being Karina Gorham's poetry teacher over at Montgomery Village Middle School and was blown away. Ariana Ross and I were together in that workshop. And I believe this is when Karina was in 6th grade. And Ariana was like, Mr. Regie, read this. And I'm like, what? I am proud to say that Karina has successfully graduated middle school and will be attending high school. Congratulations to you, Karina. And your work keeps growing. And I'm just honored just to watch your work grow. And we're happy that you can join us. Also, a shout out to Karina's mom, who is just a fabulous supporter of Amplify Us and Story Tapestries. Without any further ado, let's give a big Amplify Us welcome to the one and only Karina Gorham.
Mr. Regie, I am sorry to say Miss Gorham is not here just yet.
Oh, okay. So
sorry.
That is all right.
She's unfortunately, for those in the audience, she had to take the bus and she got stuck on the bus, but she is on her way. I will check in with her mom. So I'm wondering if we could have Mia, we could introduce Mia and Karina be a button. Is that okay, Mia?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Our next performer is a poet whose work I was familiar with at the Capturing Fire Spoken Word Festival at Woolly Mammoth Theater. Mia S. Willis is the record two-time uh, Capturing Fire Slam champion. Since then, Mia S. Willis has gone on to receive another distinguished award as one of the 10 fellows at James Baldwin's Les Maisons Fellowship. So Mia will also be teaching this summer uh, at James Baldwin's home at St. Paul de Vence, not through there, but on the web. And we're so happy that they are here to present their work. I turn it over to the one and only phenomenal. And I really do believe that Mia S. Willis is in the next crew of writers who are going to inspire a lot of change as this country tries to get itself together. So please open your hearts and let's welcome a big Amplify US welcome for Mia S. Willis.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much to Amplify Us, to Storied Tapestries, to Regie, to Valerie, to Ariana. Thank you so much, everyone, for having me here and for hosting this space. It is incredibly important, particularly in these urgent times. I'm honored to be here as a kind of poetic representation of the current world. My first poem that I'll share with you is about a quirky little happening that took place here in the South. I am coming to you from my home here in Atlanta, Georgia. And if you're from the South, or if you've ever spent an extended amount of time in the South, you know that pretty outrageous things happen in the state of Florida, and I spent 2 years of my life there. So here's a happening that took place in Florida. Maybe you've heard of it, but I think I learned a lot from it. On December 7th, 2019, Georgian performance artist David DeTuna entered the Art Basel Miami exhibition, removed an artwork valued at $120,000 from the gallery wall, then ate it. This is an ode to the hungry artist, the parable of the Great Banquet. Mere days after we paid our respects to Chairman Fred, we sat on the stoop slack-jawed as a man ate a $120,000 banana. Shook our heads and mused that the hunger's gonna kill us first. 60-second science class at the self-checkout. Appetite, like energy, cannot be lost, only change its form. So when my stomach, I mean pockets, are empty, I bite the Armani gloved hand that feeds me. Question: if the ancestors were sharecroppers living in Eden on credit, what was the price of the apple? Question: if we still have not tired of tilling the fields without tasting the fruit, what is the value of our heads? In the year of our Lord 2019, Jesus walked into a brightly colored spectacle, peeled forbidden yield, let teeth break skin into bleeding, performs a miracle, then smiled as centurions led him away from shocked public. Peace so still, it shows the cruelty in starving, commands its witnesses to go forth, multiply. So as you may be able to tell, I grew up Southern Baptist, and that does a real number on you, particularly when you are queer and you are Black and you are a proud descendant of the Gullah Geechee people in Eastern North Carolina. And so I actually don't get to talk about this often, but Ariana and I were talking about it earlier. I do use they, them pronouns exclusively. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that I believe my gender is ancestral. I believe that I share my gender with a lineage of people who have come before me and died so that I may live in this body. So this next poem is about how I understand gender in a Black body, in a body that is descended from enslaved Africans in this country. I went to college to be an archaeologist. So I am trained as a classical archaeologist, specifically as an archaeologist who worked in the Black Sea and Bulgaria and Turkey and things like that. So I have specializations in religion and linguistics. And so that's kind of how I make sense of the world. You'll see a lot of that in this next poem. It's called A Descriptive Grammar About Gender. A, boy, B-O-Y, and boy, B-O-I, are homophones, distinguishable only by their context. Example, police officer to my father. Where are you coming from, boy? Example, lover's hand to my cheek. Where are you coming from, boy? B, the sequence of sounds, trans, is both a prefix and adjective that appears before the word it describes. Example, the Swahili name for the transatlantic slave trade is the Maafa, the catastrophe. Example, there is no Swahili word for transgender. There was no need to name the sources of the salt in the seawater before the catastrophe. C, femme, F-E-M-M-E, and femme, F-E-M, are homophones, distinguishable only by their context. Example, diamonds are a femme's best friend. Example, my femme is a home for the bloodiest hands, for those eager to test their strength against the diamond and the rough that refuses to give her up. D, lexical semantics demonstrate that body and gender are historically synonymous. Example, this is my body, which is given for you. Example, for my gender is true food. So as you all can tell by that poem, my gender is very much wrapped up in my cultural identity as a Gullah Geechee poet, as someone who was born on the land that my ancestors saw from the ships. That means a lot to me and informs everything that I do. I'm so blessed to be Black. I wouldn't choose anything else. I love being Black and being queer more than anything in the world. I wrote this next poem I actually wrote this next poem this week. So this is totally brand new stuff right here. I wrote this poem in the Dream Yard Radical Poetry Consortium this last week in a workshop with the incomparable Denise Froman. If you have an opportunity to take a workshop with her, she's an incredible Puerto Rican poet who really knows how to bring out the best in people. I am calling this poem Juneteenth. Juneteenth is the holiday that descendants of enslaved Africans celebrate our ancestors' transition out of chattel slavery. Notice I say that I did not say we were freed. I say that I called it a transition because slavery was not abolished in this country. It still very much is alive in the prison industrial complex. This poem is called Juneteenth, and it's written in what I'm calling a tattered flag poetry form. So it's 10 lines that describe an instance of white supremacy, and then 9 lines that describe kind of an instance of queer lineage or queer inspiration and growth within that supremacy. Small, ordinary acts can be the portals through which meaning is made. Denise Froman. The man asks, "What do you know about freedom?" So I tell him how I came out to my grandmother. Say, I am more intriguing than the violence done to me. Then I tell him how I wish I could be honest with my mother about my credit history, or anything that means anything at all. And I explain how I talk about my father more than I talk to him, because what surprise could a raindrop ever bring the ocean? And I explain how I never wonder if my partner loves me when there are biscuits in the house. Only when the man turns to walk away do I approach. The truth is that I was born under a North Carolina wind bloated with acid, where women forge brave lacquered armor of constraint, scabbards full of toil, slack and useless simplicity, clearing loose soil from the excavation, blood spent so lavishly on an empty landscape in my house, in my mother's house, in my mother's mother's house, a slapdash driftwood body, Charybdis waves, guileful, tempestuous. I taught myself to read the gusts by pricking my ears to their howl. Thus far, the only transliteration that fills this sail of billowing skin. When I say all the Black folks here are smiling, I mean humans are the only species for which baring teeth is a sign of benevolence. I mean, ain't it funny how enamel ain't bulletproof, but we crouch behind it anyway? When I say all the Black folks here are smiling, I mean all the Black folks here are alive and as soft as water and eager to stay. You all, thank you so much for having me here in this space. I am so invigorated by its presence. I am going to close with another new poem, another new series. I have been challenging myself recently to explore poems created by and for Black people, and for a specific rendering of our lived experience, whether that's joy, whether that's grief. And I've really been drawn to the way that Black poetry forms speak to me just physically and as a writer. This last little, I suppose, string, because it's a very string of short poems, this last set is a string of Aintou poems, Eintou poems. Aintou is, it means pearl, and essentially it is designed as a celebration poem. And so I'm going to close with this series. Thank you so much to Amplify Us for having me. If you are interested in seeing more of me, please check me out on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram at Poet in the Hat. I'm always wearing the hat. It's because my head is small. Thank you for asking. I am going to move into this last set. Thank you so much for having me, you all. The world is not a phantom. It is an assemblage of families. Archbishop Francois Fenelon. Body, ossuary, vessel for the next faith, a totally new unity, keeper of the bloodline, holy sundial, bear fruit, hybrid sweetness for the watching saplings, birth a name ripe with ritual, sticky with rebellion, rambunctious pulp, alive, weathered amber suspends laughter in leaves, branches whine and whisper pigeon, grace a staple in dance, morsel to the hungry. Hungry should not exist if kinfolk have kitchens. When food is scarce, we eat the mud, bury the love inside, then wait for it to bloom. Release the salt, sift out sting from soil, then water it with tempest wind. Forgiveness lets acid bathe the new fronds again. Thunder crashes into the canopy. Lightning makes a meal of the bark, so shed it all, then grow it back. Today is not the day we die. Thank you, Amplify Us. Thank you, Regie. Thank you, Valerie. Thank you, Ariana. Thank you to all the other performers. I look forward to hearing some excellent words from our other poets and some incredible discussion. Thank you all so much.
That was Mia S. Willis, everybody. If you just joined us, all the feelings are awakening and inspiring. Thank you. So we have one more poet before we go into the second part of Amplify Us, which is a discussion led by our social justice activist, facilitator, the extraordinary Carolyn Lowery. But without any further ado, Karina, I gave you a really long introduction. So at this point, I threw maybe 5 minutes of love and admiration to you. Really happy that you can join us. Please welcome the poetic stylings of Karina Gorham.
Thank you. I have one poem to read, but before that, put your hands on your hearts for the national anthem. I'm not that good at singing, so bear with me. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly they hailed, just to hear us stop breathing, whose white skin and bright stars through the streets we must fight for the right just to live, but our deaths keep increasing just to be treated fair. Tear gas bursting in air gave proof through your life that you just didn't care. Oh, say, does our lives matter? Mean that our souls for the land of the free, but not for people like me. Yay! Sorry. All right. And now I have to find my phone.
That was amazing, Karina.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karina. Wow. All right. Um, do you have one more poem or?
Yes, I do. Just have to find it. All right. Yes. All right. So this one is called I Think I Got It. So let me get this straight. You can hear the words come out of that abomination of a president, but you can't hear a man under your knee screaming, I can't breathe. You can see a white man shoot up a church and take him out to lunch, but a black boy and a toy gun is a threat. A black man jogging is a criminal, but killing him and recording it is A-okay. I don't get it. See, you can say whatever you want because you think you are the law. But as soon as a black person breathes, they're a criminal. So when you kill, you're mentally ill. But if we walk the streets like humans, we're a societal threat. So let me get this straight. You come to protect and serve the American people, but only if they're American and white. Did I get it? Was I right? Or was I off a little? Thank you.
Let's give it up for the fabulous Karina Gorham. I cannot wait to see what else you are creating. Congratulations for graduating middle school. We at Amplify US and Story Tapestries are very, very proud of your work. And thank you for joining us. At this point, are we taking a small pause before we transition into our second part? We're going right in.
We are gonna go right in, Mr. Regie.
Okay.
At the end. Although I wanted to let everyone know that the performance was on YouTube Live, but I am stopping the YouTube Live part and stopping the recording for our discussion because it is important that people feel comfortable saying what they need to say. So I just wanted people to know I'm pausing the YouTube Live and pausing the recording for the discussion portion.
And before I turn it over to our facilitator, these are very triggering topics potentially. So please take care of yourself. I think the worst thing that you can do right now is to not say anything. People have been saying things and getting triggered. And I think that this is the space where we need to sort of confront and share and speak candidly and really just try to learn in our dialogue and in our process. And I'm going to turn it over to Carolyn, who